Lauren, and I'll just be helping out through the press conference today that's hosted by Senator Rob Dover. We have other lawmakers here behind us who have introduced school choice legislation this year because they believe in not giving up on our kids. This year, 4,500 students benefited from one of our school choice programs, LB 753, the Opportunity Scholarships Act, and LB 1402, Nebraska Education Scholarships. Of course, those are both unavailable, which leaves many families worried about the future. But we're here today to give some hope because we know, one, that these kids provide hope for us and their smiling faces, but two, that there are lawmakers who are still willing to say kids are the most important part of our future here in Nebraska, and they're willing to introduce legislation to empower families and to give more kids hope. So, to that end, I would like to welcome Senator Rob Dover from Norfolk to talk about his bill. Senator Dover.
Good afternoon. My name is Senator Rob Dover from Norfolk. I represent Legislative District 19. I'm overjoyed to be joined by so many of my colleagues and other Nebraskans, especially students, parents, and school leaders, to continue to push for Nebraska choice in schools. As we've seen, school choice is growing all across the country. Over the last several years, as a state senator, I have become more and more passionate about school choice. I've heard the stories and witnessed firsthand in my district how impactful it is when a kid is able to, like kids here, these kids are able to learn in an environment where they're safe, happy, and able to thrive. That is why I decided to bring LB 624, which appropriates $20 million in the biennium to assist low-income and other at-risk elementary and secondary students with educational choice and opportunities. I firmly believe that if we want to keep kids safe, help them reach their full potential, and be vibrant members of our state, we must ensure that their K-12 education experience is the one that's best for them. We provide these options and opportunities for early childhood education as well as post-secondary education. We provide these options, As a senator, you get the chance to hear a lot of moving stories and meet parents and students impacted by school choice. Today I have the privilege of introducing Christina Chavala and her daughter Olu. They benefited from our school choice program last year and are here to share their story. Please join me in welcoming Christina and Olu.
Thank you, Senator. We are really grateful to be here today, and I actually have both of my daughters here, Olu and Leela. This school choice legislation is very near and dear to our hearts because it directly affects the people that matter the most to me, which are my daughters. The school choice legislation to our family is synonymous with hope. There are some people that are going to say that I do have the choice to send my daughters wherever I want to, and while that technically may be true, it's not that simple. For the last 10 years, I have been a single parent, and while I am well-versed in strict budgets and sacrificing with our family, deciding what we're going to be spending our money on and what we're going to be saving it for, and working long and hard hours, sometimes it just simply is not enough. And I know that we are not the only family in Nebraska that are in this boat. One of the worst feelings as a parent is knowing your child, knowing where they are going to thrive and knowing what's best for them, but not having the means to be able to plant them there. So this is where hope comes in. Seeing and knowing that there are Nebraskans that see us, that see my daughters, and that see families like ours, and are willing to come alongside us and provide us with the support that we need so that my daughters can have a choice, so that my daughters can have the opportunity, and other families like us, regardless of their parents' income and regardless of the circumstances in which our kiddos are growing up in. To me, that is the meaning of this school choice legislation. We know this because we are that family. We were the recipients of the Opportunity Scholarship last year, and it was truly life-changing for our family. What it meant for us practically is that my daughters were able to have a parent at their games. We're able to have a parent Ubering them back and forth to practices. We're able to have a parent at the dinner table because I did not have to work multiple jobs to ensure that my children were in the environment that best fit their learning needs. When I received that email last July that my daughters were the recipients of the Opportunity Scholarship, I broke down in tears because it meant that my children were able to have their parent with me. It meant that my 7th grader was able to continue in her school and not have to worry about what the next fall brought. It meant that my daughter, who had worked very hard to be able to get into the all-girls environment that she felt that she was going to learn best and was going to help provide for her educational needs, it meant that she was able to see that vision and see that dream come through to reality. My girls right now are thriving where they're at. Leela worked really hard and got straight A's and is playing for her school volleyball team. And Olu is thriving in the all-girl, women-supporting women environment that she is in. Duchenne also has a really big push toward diversity, and she is thriving there. She's made highest honors. She is playing for their lacrosse team, and she has even told me already that school is like a second home to her. I just cannot envision my daughters anywhere else. With its repeal, though, of the Opportunity Scholarship, it has brought us back to the same place that we were last January with uncertainty and not knowing where the future is going to lead. And I just believe that as a parent, my girls are too young to have to live with that anxiety of knowing whether or not they're going to be able to finish off their school year in the school that they love and in the environment that best fits their unique needs. I believe they're too young to be coming to me at the age of 13, asking me how they're going to go about getting a job so that they can help pay for the funds to be in the school that they had set their sights on, which is something that Olu did last year before we had known that we were recipients of the Opportunity Scholarship Program. But today is not about that. Today is a day of hope. Today, we are one step closer to all Nebraskans being able to experience the hope that we as a family experienced. I would encourage lawmakers that in passing school choice legislation, what they are doing is building a legacy of hope for our children. In passing this school choice legislation, we are continuing to send the message to my daughters, to these kiddos, to all of the families that are like us, that investing in the future of our children matters, and that we as Nebraskans are committed to that.
Yes, and because we were able to receive the Opportunity Scholarship, I have been put in an environment where I am thriving in my academics and growing as a person in an environment that has allowed me to do so and has fit my needs so well. And I just want others like me to be able to experience that sense of belonging in a place that fits their needs perfectly.
I'd like to invite Senator Tony Sorrentino to discuss his bill.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is absolutely an honor for me to be here today. It looks like within about a year, you're all going to be taller than me. I'm Senator Tony Sorrentino, Legislative District 39. That's mostly Elkhorn and Waterloo, Nebraska. I am here today as the introducer of LB 509. LB 509 is very, very similar to a bill about a year and a half ago introduced by Senator Linehan, which was LB 753, if you recall that. It is called the Opportunity Scholarship Act. And this important and proven, emphasis on proven, legislative bill would provide more scholarships for kids who need educational freedom. During this implementation of LB 753 last year, over 1,600 student lives were changed because they had access to the Opportunity Scholarships. 45% of the students who received those scholarships were from rural areas, 55% were from urban areas. 38% were students of color, 12% had special needs, 43 students were from military families, and 13 were children who were denied optional enrollment in our public school system. 60% of these kids were from families at the 213% or lower of the federal poverty line. We cannot leave our children without opportunity. That is our message today. Instead, we need to give parents and students hope by passing school choice again this legislative session. School choice, particularly for our state's low-income families, is a matter of justice. And I look forward to continuing our advocacy for parents and kids, combating the misinformation of our opponents. Thank you, and thank you for every one of you being here today.
I'd like to invite Senator Bo Ballard to discuss his bill.
Thank you, Lauren. Good afternoon. My name is Senator Bo Ballard, and I represent District 21 in Northwest Lincoln and Northern Lancaster County. This session, I introduced LB 481, which is a Foster Care Scholarship Act. The program would provide Hope Scholarships to kids in our foster care system. These scholarships will give foster care students the opportunity to succeed in life through their educational that fits their needs. Last biennium, Nebraska provided scholarships to around half a dozen students in foster care. The Foster Care Scholarships Act would simply ensure that we continue supporting these children. I am bringing this bill because of people like Ann in Grand Island. She's a foster care parent, and last time she enrolled her foster child in kindergarten, she wanted the best school for him, like any of us would want for our children. She sought open enrollment, but because of her foster care special need was denied that option. But through the Opportunity Scholarship, she was able to enroll him in private school, and receive the support in an educational setting where he is thriving. I look forward to continue to advocate for the Hope Scholarships this legislative session.
And Senator Ben Hansen, please discuss your bill.
You guys are doing this pretty good so far. Yeah. Not fidgety. Raise the hands. How many here kids love their school? That's more than I thought. That's great. Thanks for everyone for being here too. All right, good afternoon. My name is Senator Ben Hansen from Legislative District 16. I'm here to talk about LB 633, which creates the Nebraska Option Enrollment Tuition Account Program. Nebraska implemented the Option Enrollment Program years ago to support parents making academically oriented decisions for their children. As parents, we know that one size does not fit all when it comes to our children's educational needs. The purpose for optional enrollment is to give a student who for some reason isn't thriving in the learning environment provided at their school a chance to enter a different school that is able to support them in a way that is best for their needs. Optional enrollment shows Nebraska is committed to prioritizing the individual needs of each student. Unfortunately, even though the state acknowledges that the ability for a student to request a transfer is important, not every kid who applies for optional enrollment is accepted. Far too many kids are denied optional enrollment by public schools, especially kids with special educational needs. My legislation would simply provide these families with another opportunity. If they are denied at a public school, they could use their optional enrollment funds at a non-public school of their choice. And if they have a special education need, they receive additional funds for services. When I brought this bill 2 years ago, I was moved by the testifiers who came forward in support. We all know every kid who only has one shot at their K-12 education, and we have to make it count. If our public schools can't make room for these kids, Nebraska needs to provide another route. The optional enrollment tuition account program allows them to exercise their educational options not only in our excellent public schools, but in our non-public schools as well. Let's continue to prioritize individual needs of each student with LB 633. Thank you.
Thank you. To discuss the last legislation we're talking about today, Senator Bob Anderson. Please join us.
As a father of two sons, you kids are doing a great job, I got to tell you. Good afternoon. I'm Senator Bob Anderson, representing the Legislative District 49, which is Northwest Sarpy County in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm very excited to advocate for school choice during this legislative session. It's absolutely critical that our state is funding students, not systems. My legislative bill, LB 427, would provide educational savings accounts to K through 12 students and allow the hard-earned taxpayer dollars to follow them to the school of their choice. During my campaign, I heard from the people in my district that they wanted a choice in how their children were educated. Additionally, I heard from friends in Iowa about the extremely positive results that they are and amazing impacts that school choice has had on their families, especially their children. Parents are respected and honored as the primary educator of their children, rather than a child simply being assigned to a public school in their district. When we empower parents to direct their children's education, we are setting children up for success. As we are seeing around the country, school choice continues to grow in popularity because of the positive impacts on the families, especially the children. Nebraska remains one of only 2 states without a robust school choice program. The other state, North Dakota, is set to pass a major school choice program this session. It's time for Nebraska to stand with and support the parents' right to choose the best educational option for their children. I look forward to working with my colleagues standing behind me, as well as the parents and students across the state to make the best choice for their children. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Anderson. Just like he said, school choice is growing in popularity across the country, but also in the state of Nebraska, and our coalition continues to grow. Here we have representatives from the Nebraska Catholic Conference, Nebraska Family Alliance, the Nebraska Coalition of Non-Public Schools, Opportunity Scholarships of Nebraska, Yes Every Kid, Americans for Prosperity, and the Platt Institute, and probably many more out there. From the Platt Institute, the director, Jim Vocal, is going to speak a little bit about the report that they had about school choice. Please help me welcome Jim Vocal.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to all the senators and supporters of educational choice who have joined us today. I'm Jim Vocal, I'm the CEO of the Platt Institute. We're a free market think tank focused on advancing policies that remove barriers to growth and opportunity, and that includes educational barriers. For the past several years, the Platt Institute is committed to expanding educational choice for one simple reason. Every family deserves the opportunity to select the education that best fits their needs, and every child deserves a chance to succeed. Over the interim, we commissioned a report by Neil McCluskey, the director of Cato's Institute Center for Educational Freedom. The report outlines the transformative potential of school choice for Nebraska, but unfortunately, Nebraska has been unable to create a sustainable school choice program and has been left behind by most of the country. It is missing out on the many benefits of choice, including upward academic pressure, family satisfaction, financial savings, and an education system consistent with a free, harmonious society. Fortunately, there are numerous states we can look at as models for progress, from fostering innovation and upward academic achievement to empowering families and creating financial savings for taxpayers. I'm thrilled to see several of the report's policy recommendations reflected in legislation introduced this session, supported by the leaders standing with us today. These proposals represent a meaningful step forward, ensuring that all Nebraskan students have access to education that meets their unique needs. The Platt Institute stands ready to support these efforts with research, legislative testimony, and advocacy. Together, we can continue to build a coalition dedicated to making Nebraska a state where families thrive, students excel, and educational opportunity are available for all. Thank you again for being here today. I'm going to turn it now over to Senator Dover.
Are there any questions? Yes.
Yeah, this is for Senator Sorrentino.
Sure.
You had mentioned your bill very similar to LB 753. There was a mostly successful effort to put a repeal of 753 on the ballot before some legislative shenanigans changed it with 1402.
I'll be right back.
It seems like the voters have already spoken and said they don't want your bill. What would you say to the folks who signed the original petition to repeal 753, the ones who signed to repeal 1042, and the voters who said that they don't want school choice? What would you say to all of them now that you're reintroducing this bill?
How about I pick this one up? The vote in November 5th, which defeated it, certainly was disappointing to the effort. However, if you look at the roughly 10 months that 753 was in existence, now 509, you look how much good there was done, you can only think exponentially what that would do permanently. This is about the kids. This is not about politics. This is not about tax credits. This is about having opportunities for these children who would otherwise not be able to afford it. I think it's every bit worth bringing it up again, and I'll bring it up again until we get it right.
As an elected official, shouldn't you be listening to your constituents? Your
I am listening to my
voted repeal this
constituents.
bill.
But I am a Nebraska State Senator. I'm not just a legislative District 39.
But your
and
legislative
many of the
District
very
39
poorest,
in particular voted to repeal this bill.
Pardon me?
Your district voted to
Yes,
repeal.
they did. However, as a Nebraska State Senator, I listen to the opportunities that are afforded to all Nebraskans. Four of the most poor districts in this state voted overwhelmingly to support it. And I would suggest those senators also listen to their district. Let's do this for the kids and take politics out of it.
So would this money only go towards private and parochial schools like the previous bills?
That part of the bill has not changed. There are some small tweaks to it, but not to whom might receive it. There is an application process, and those who question the accountability, I personally can attest, and I will monitor the accountability, that it's going to the right children.
What parts of the bill have changed?
Just small things like the effective dates, etc. Nothing technical. Yes.
The state faces almost a $500 million budget shortfall. I mean, how do we justify this, when we're cutting other types of things? And also the argument that if you do this, it will cut public schools.
I'll address the last question first. This does not cut public school funding. Let's say there are $25 million of credits in 2026. There's not a dollar for dollar offset against the educational budget the TOC gets to those public schools. In my opinion, that's part of the misinformation that we battled. And if you recall, on November 5th, there were a lot of initiatives on the ballot. Those who opposed it spent $7 million to defeat this. There was no money spent in favor of it. So I think it deserves very much another rehearing.
I think Senator Dover wants to weigh in on this.
Please do.
Thank you. Let's do this here. I'm on appropriations, and I believe there was originally $423 million that they thought we were short with the increase in December, where there was another additional $200 million that they weren't aware of. So currently we're at $243 million, and I don't think we really know where we're going to end up yet. So I think it'd be premature to use the numbers that we currently have. So we're going to find out as time passes in February and stuff what we really are with the state. But so we'll make that decision then. I also think there's 4,500 students out there that are wondering where they're going to end up, and I think we owe them responsibility to make sure they're kept in a safe place. We're going over the budget. I heard that the governor has another 200 more amendments to get to us about the budget, and so I think it's a long process. We have to weigh what's important, I think, and I personally believe what's important are all these kids standing around me. This is the future of Nebraska, and we need to make sure they are in an environment where not we don't decide as Nebraska, but the children and the family decide where they feel, again, safe, happy, and able to thrive. Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you all for being with us.
I have one question,
Yes,
please.
first.
In other states, like in Iowa, you've seen where this has taken place, private school tuition has jumped dramatically, and some critics say this is a money grab by private schools to take advantage of state funding. Is there anything built into these bills to keep that from happening in Nebraska?
I think that Well, currently there's an appropriation of that. A number of these bills don't appropriate that much money, so they're set, and then when we do our next budget in 2 years, we will sit down and go through the same process of seeing what we have for revenues and see what we have to spend, and we will adjust appropriately. But there is no huge money grab right now or anything and we have to have a balanced budget. I think that's the only thing obviously we have to do in the state of Nebraska as legislators is have a balanced budget.
Senator Dover, maybe Senator Sorrentino, when Senator Lenahan brought this the last time, I think she had 32 co-sponsors. It was in the governor's budget proposal. I guess neither of those things are true this time around, and the voters rejected this in November. Do you think that the energy is here in the legislature that this will have the support to pass again? I
think anyone who can foresee what the legislature is going to do is, as well as you know, is guessing, right? But I'll say this is, in my district, my people that I'm representing, they voted to keep 1402. And I'll also say this is, I've had many conversations with not only people here in the Capitol, but back in my district with teachers, educators who originally had one perception of what Opportunity Scholarship and LB 1402 did. After I sat down and talked to them, and I heard other senators behind me tell the same story, when we sit down and actually explain it to them, they wouldn't have voted or took the position that they did. So I think the main thing is, I think although there was a vote for 1402 and not in my district, but I don't think that it was probably truly as represented as sometimes ballot initiatives aren't represented correctly. I think that has taken place in Nebraska. Thank you.
I would just add, I think in the November 5th election, as I mentioned, there was a lot going. There was a presidential election initiatives on pro-life, pro-choice. There was a lot of misinformation, and we aim to correct that. This, after all, is about our kids. There isn't anything more important, so it deserves a second chance. Not only this bill, but the other 4 bills being introduced. Thank you.
Can you, sorry, Senator, what other things, I'm not giving you the opportunity, what other misinformation was put out there?
I think a lot of it has to do with what I would call the tagline is, this is going to hurt public schools funding. I've read the bill. You've read the bill. Not true. Simple as that.
But don't you all drink from the same straw, though? You know, and what is left in the cup is less that everybody else can sip from.
I don't recall that the 2024 education budget was cut by the amount of the Opportunity Scholarships. It wasn't. It's just not true. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming out. Hey kids, give yourself a round of applause because you are awesome. Okay, if you're from St. Anthony's, can you meet right